In today's video, we're going to be checking out the DC Collectibles Supergirl, figure number 1, Supergirl. For those curious as to how tall Supergirl is, she's exactly 7 inches tall. While she may not necessarily come with a display stand, in fact, at the beginning of this review, I just used my go-to black display stand for displaying her. The only thing that she really does come with are interchangeable hands. A total of 6 hands come with Supergirl here. If you get her out of package immediately, you probably will see that she has opened or relaxed hands, which are very opened, I might add. They couldn't be any more open than what they are right there. The other hand would have been here. I just swapped it at the beginning of this review with the closed fist. So she comes with a pair of open hands, which all the hands have nice paintwork done on the fingernails, which is small but appreciated. And then looking to its mirror copy, she does also have a closed fist, which again I've got in this socket here. And lastly, she's got a pair of gripping hands. She doesn't really grip much because she doesn't technically come with any other accessories other than the hands. To change out any of the hands, simply just grab the forearm, pull out the hand that you want to replace with, or replace to. Find the hand you want to replace with, pop it back into place, and you're good to go. I almost feel like the open hands are a little too much. I mean, more, if the fingers were more kind of closed together, you could almost have it more so where she's in a flying pose. Though sadly, she doesn't have any pegs or anything on the back of her torso. So if you want to have her in flight mode, you'd have to rely on something that has more of a waist clip. So moving those hands out of the way, let's have a look at the figure, which I actually think looks quite good, in all honesty. I think the sculpt on the figure as well as the paint, both are equally executed well. The face sculpt is one of the better ones from DC Collectibles. And though she doesn't really have much of a smile, you can see that she's not also sad either. She's kind of just in the middle. Normally I wouldn't be all that keen with the idea of adding all this extra brown to her hair, but it seems to pull off pretty successfully here on the figure. Again, no issues with the face sculpt. It definitely is one of the better ones. And then looking at her torso, the torso has, if you can make it out, hopefully there's the camera picking it up, there's a little bit of almost a glitter that's added into the plastic. It gives just a little bit of a sheen, which I quite like. Couple that also with the texturing that they've added to the plastic sculpt as well, goes certainly a long way. You've got these little dotted line kind of stitch work that's incorporated into the torso right around the area of a very nice painted emblem, Supergirl emblem I should say. That stitch work also carries over to the side and runs down the forearm area. It gives it a little extra oomph, I have to admit. It's not just simply a case of, for starters, the color's really good. I like the coloring of the costume, but I think I kind of like that little dotted line lining is running down the arms. I think that's kind of neat. Going back once again to the emblem's painted pretty cleanly. I don't have any issues there. The gold outlining the super logo was quite good, as well as the cape is also quite nice. Sculpted in a softer plastic, so it's got a little bit of give to it. In fact, I would almost say basically from here to here is a really good representation of Supergirl. Then you kind of get to the lower legs, and if anything was to fall apart on the figure, I would almost chalk it up to the lower portion of the figure. Now, we all know in the show she wears like tights. She wears tights basically underneath the skirt, and then the boots go over top of that. That bothers me in the show because I don't like the fact that she's got a slightly discolored leg area from the hands and the face. Somehow, though, unfortunately, it's even more predominant on this figure, where instead of almost being a slightly off flesh tone, it's almost more borderline a brown, or like a chocolate brown, which is off-putting for me. I don't know why. It bothers me, the fact that it's not real, like her regular legs. And maybe the only one that thinks that, I don't know. The sculpting on her boots are pretty decent, but they get a little on the muddy side because they've added all this extra dark gray wash to it. So the skirt has it, the cape somewhat has it, but somehow it comes across a little bit more darker here in the boots. The leg area, basically from like the knee down, which would be a more thinner calf, comes across a little on the hefty side. And I mean no offense by saying that, but it seems like the leg here has no defined slope where it curves inward into a calf or an ankle, from the calf to the ankle. Instead it basically continues to be a very broad boot. Again, it kind of makes the figure, if you basically now look at it from the waist down, that might be the only thing that you're seeing now, it does look a little too thick on the leg portion. And again, still don't like the coloring of the tights. It looks a little bit more worse on the figure, in all honesty, than it does in the show. But again, I'm not a big fan of this myself. She's got some nice gold, though, I have to point out. That's one thing I do like about the figure, is the coloring basically on the rest of the suit and the face, which I will take nothing away from. Articulation on Supergirl. Her head rotates all the way around, a hinge up and down due to the ball joint that attaches the head to the socket of the neck. The plastic on the hair is soft enough too, so you can still rotate the head all the way around, for example. Not that you would want to, but it doesn't get in the way, and it's soft enough that it kind of goes with the motion of the movement of the head. The shoulders hinge outward, as well as a full rotation all the way around. She has a bend at the elbow, and let's not also forget she's got a swivel right basically where the bicep connects itself to the elbow, or just shy of that. She's got the swivel hinge there. Her hands also rotate and hinge back and forth. Moving her arms out of the way. Her torso doesn't seem to have any sort of posability, because it looks like the skirt has been sculpted right into the torso. But she does still have a forward, back, and the ability to move the legs outward. She does have a swivel or hinge in the thigh area, but she does have a bend, a double hinge on the knee. Finally, she also has a hinge in the foot, which, if we flip the figure upside down, you can see that she only has one peg hole on the underside of her foot. I never understand logic behind that. If you're going to peg hole one foot, why not simply just do the same on the other side too? Overall, I think DC Collectibles did a pretty good job on Supergirl here. There are a few little things I'm not super crazy about, but I think a lot of that is the initial design of the show costume, and simply has just been concentrated here on the figure. Specifically, the thigh area where she's wearing those tights seems a little too dark for my liking. And again, I'm not a really big fan of the fact that she wears that in the show. I kind of wish that she was more bare-legged. But that being aside, if basically that being the only problem with the figure, I think I can walk away fairly happy, because the rest of the figure does things quite well. She's superposable. She doesn't really have a lot in the way of additional accessories, really relying only on a series of interchangeable hands to get her going. Other than that, though, pretty happy with the figure. Supergirl now is currently available in your local comic book store, so if you're looking to pick this one up for yourself, you can find her there. If you have also a tough time finding a local comic book store, you can head over to www.comicshoplocator.com, put in your zip code, your postal code, and you'll be able to find a comic book store in your area. If you haven't also had a chance to subscribe yet to this channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that little subscribe button down below, and also be sure to select and check off that little bell notification down below. That will also ensure that when new videos are coming up onto this channel, you won't miss a beat when they go live. As always, guys, thanks for watching, as you always do. See you next time.